So Jen, otherwise known as Vegan Queen V.
Hello.
Hello, thank you very much for chatting to us today at Vegan Camp Out.
Thank you, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, let's talk a little bit about your album Freedom Matters. Thank you for sending it into the Viva offices, we had a listen to it. Can you tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind it and how it came about?
Absolutely, yeah, Freedom Warrior.
Freedom Warrior. Why did I say freedom of information?
Well, freedom does matter.
Yeah, freedom matter, yeah.
It does matter. But Freedom Warrior, because that's what I believe I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe most vegans are.
Yeah.
We want freedom for everyone. And it came about, I went vegan about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I started writing. I've been a songwriter my whole life. Well, at least, since I could write music, hold a pen, play the piano. And I just naturally, after watching documentaries like Land of Hope and Glory, Cowspiracy, I just naturally started writing songs for the animals and the sort of things that they'd want to say if they could speak. And I never really intended on creating an album, but it just came, it felt like it was something I needed to do. I've been a professional musician in my whole adult life, and it's been the first time I've actually felt passionate enough to release a body of work. So they're all animal rights songs and human rights songs, because if they're oppressed, we're not free. If that's why I believe we are oppressed, because all our animal brothers and sisters are in cages and in chains. So one affects the other.
It's brilliant. I mean, you've got songs like Mother on there as well, and it's just like you're kind of drawing the parallels, aren't you? And it's really, it's exactly the same thing. We had the conversation earlier with somebody talking about, they still have to get pregnant. It's the same process. The grieving is the same, and shooting their calves and things. It's
just horrific. And the mammals, so we can relate to them super well, because aside from looking slightly different and maybe eating a slightly different diet, we have the same emotions, and we the creation of a new being is similar, and we give birth the same way, and we produce the same sort of liquid food to feed the newborns. So it's very relatable. And so that's partly why it's so crazy that it happens, because it's so cruel. But as I say, the animals are oppressed and we're oppressed. Yeah,
completely. So. I mean, and you touch on that, like songs on Dominion and things as well, and it's really good. Now on the album, I was listening to it as well, and you do the vocals, you write the songs, but you also play strings, is that right?
Yeah.
And quite a lot of the instruments?
Yeah. I learned the violin and piano when I was a kid, did all my grades, so I did sort of the classical route into music, but then got into pop music and rock music. The album's, it's got an influence of the classical stuff, but obviously the pop stuff as well. And I recorded it in a beautiful studio in Scotland.
Yeah, where was it? Was it the Shetland? No, it was
the Outer Hebrides.
The Outer Hebrides.
Yeah, the Isle of Lewis.
Oh, Lewis, of course, that's my surname. I should know that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's the most inspiring place I've ever worked, really. It's just in the middle of nowhere. You look out onto the sea, and there's the seabirds, and there's even sort of sheep sort of roaming around that would just walk past the studio window, and it's there's a beautiful big live room with a grand piano.
Oh, wow.
So you're just writing and recording, looking out onto this, onto the wildness, onto nature, which is what we are. We are part of that. So it was an incredibly beautiful place to, and I'm very privileged to have recorded the album there.
Fabulous. So, I mean, in terms of veganism, you mentioned it was 8 or 9 years ago you went vegan, and how has it kind of changed your life? So can you remember kind of before that?
Yeah. Well, I went vegetarian when I was 8 years old. And at the time, I wasn't thinking, the meat and dairy industries are horrendous, but I was just an 8-year-old little girl who loved animals, and in my mind, it didn't make sense to me. I had a best friend who was a cow.
Oh, really?
And it didn't make sense for me to eat her, and her, animal brothers and sisters. So I went vegetarian, and for a long time, I thought that I was doing the right thing by animals. And it's just one of those things. Why didn't I question where the eggs were coming from, where the milk was coming from, and I didn't. It was only when I moved to London back in 2016, I started working at a music venue, and there were a few players there who were vegan, and they challenged me, you're vegetarian, why aren't you vegan? And at the time, why would I be vegan? And then I watched the documentaries, and I was just absolutely blown away. And went vegan pretty fast after that, and then was so traumatized by what I was seeing and witnessing that these songs just kind of poured out. So they've been quite a therapeutic for me, to be able to take such horrificness and turn it into something beautiful, and hopefully something that will help make the change. But my life, oh my goodness, it just gets better and better.
Good.
Health wise, I mean, it's hard to put it into words how much happier and healthier, and more in alignment with my true self I am now. And it's changed. It was kind of the start of many changes, but I'm so grateful that I found it when I did. As most vegans say, I wish I'd found it out earlier. I wish I was vegan from being born. That would have been absolutely great. But my kids will be, and hopefully I will be able to influence more and more families and get them to see that is the only way we should be being in this world and eating.
It's a funny one, because I know a lot of I was similar. I was vegetarian at 10 because that was the kind of age where I could be like, I don't want to eat meat. This is why. But then I feel like if you do it quite young, sometimes you could kind of just think, oh well, I'm doing it, and you not forget about it. But then it's later on when people sort of show you veganism, and if you're listening, it's horrifying. But sometimes you're like, oh, I'm doing this, and it's only later when you realise the horrors of the kind of dairy industry as well that you're like, oh, okay, suddenly the cheese doesn't taste so good, and
But I find it really interesting looking, and it helps me to understand people who aren't vegan or who are vegetarian, because I was there. Because I just can't comprehend why I didn't think about it. Why it never crossed my mind. Where is this milk coming from? Or this milk that I'm drinking. Milk is meant for babies. What's going on with the baby? What's going on there? It never crossed my mind.
It takes that sort of secondary thought, doesn't it? And people don't always get there, or they don't want to. And that seems to be the way. I mean, in terms of projects that you're working on at the moment, you've just released the album, and it's great.
Thank you.
Are you going to be touring at all?
I'm actually working on the next album.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's out in October.
Okay.
So I'm just planning a tour now. And the next single is out in a couple of weeks, on the 8th of August.
Oh, fun.
And I'm really excited about that one. This next album is more about empowering people to make more compassionate choices. And empowered people are happier people, and happier people don't want to hurt animals, don't want to hurt each other, don't want to hurt themselves. And I believe that eating animals is a form of self-harm. On many levels, on the fact that it's so not good for us, but on the fact that you're putting that pain or contributing to that pain in the world, and we are beings of the world. So the intention of the album is to uplift and educate, with kindness. So Leader is going to be the next single, and it's about just stepping up, and there's nobody else that you're turning to. You're the leader of your life. It's all down to you, and you've got the power. You've got the power to be whatever and whoever you want to be in this world. And of course, innately, we all want to be, the most compassionate, kind, badasses that we can be in this world.
No, I love that. I never really thought about it like that, but it's true. When you're unhappy and things are falling apart, you've just had a really shit time in life. It's true, isn't it? Like the food you eat on a basic level, you reflect that. You're just like, oh, just whatever's quick and convenient. And for people who consume animal products, for me, throwing in a Beyond Burger, I guess it's the same for them. They just don't care, because you feel so bad already that then it's almost like you're eating, or your compassion kind of goes a little.
And there's those addictive things in the foods as well, which get you hooked into it. They're not good for you, but they're any sort of addictive thing. If you're not in a good place, it's like a crutch that you sort of rely on to make you feel better for like a few moments.
But then you're hooked into that cycle, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. So if you can be uplifted, empowered to see beyond that cycle, get out of it, and it helps each other, doesn't it? If you're feeling better physically, you'll feel better mentally, and
then other people feed off that, and it's
then everybody feels
everyone's great.
and then we're all having a big party.
It's like a vegan cult. No, that's great though. And so, this album was obviously highlighting a lot of the kind of sad issues and the realities of things.
Yeah,
and the next one's going to be
a truth album.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Which everyone needs to hear. But I didn't feel it necessary to repeat those. And when I'm speaking to non-vegans now, I try very hard not to make any judgments. I'll say it how it is, and every cell of my body thinks that veganism is how we all should and will be.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Agreed.
But no judgment, because we've all come from that place.
Yeah.
And judging doesn't help. It just makes them feel more crap.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, and I know one of the things we get a lot of stick for in the vegan community is that, somebody does this, and it's an attack, and it's like, stop, let's just embrace the fact they're trying, and everyone's trying, and if everyone did this, the world would be a much better place. A lot of the problems wouldn't exist that we have today, and so it's good. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. Can you tell people a little bit where they can find you to listen to the new album and things, or follow you?
Yeah, I'd love to. My website is probably a great place,
Yeah.
which is veganqueenv.com. And then I'm doing a music video for the next single, and that's YouTube.
Yep.
And probably Instagram as well.
Yep.
But Vegan Queen V on those, and then it'll be available Spotify and Apple Music, all the usual places.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us today.
Thank you, Faye. It's been great.
You're very welcome, Jen. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and get some nice food.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to the juice bar.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.